spreading the winds of vision. New day, better the past, better the future. I'm gonna build a house for the seeker. New day, it's a brand new day. It is a new day. New day. The time has come to test the fate of all mankind, to live or die or make a better way. We've reached a crucial time, and bickering about our differences will only feed the pain. Must retain the positive and follow Jah's message again. Who remembers the time gone by when peace and love ruled the day? Who remembers those mighty words of all of Jah's messengers? Love, love, love is the only way. Love, love, love is the only way. There's only so many messengers in each generation. There's only so many precious signs in each visitation. There's only so many messengers in each generation. There's only so many precious signs in each visitation. Brother Bob, he worked so hard to show us the light. How could we be so arrogant, disregard his loving advice? Who remembers the time gone by when peace and love ruled the day? Who remembers those mighty words of Muhammad and Jesus and Moses? Love, love, love is the only way. 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 There's only so many messengers in each generation. There's only so many precious signs in each visitation. There's only so many messengers in each generation. There's only so many precious signs in each visitation. Love, love, love is the only way. Love, love, love is the only way. I said love. All right. Love is the only way. Welcome, everybody, to episode 3 of the Big Mountain Dub Club. What can I say? We got a improved show this time. We've been working a lot on the whole technical thing, and this whole thing is a new experience. And for anybody who's trying new experiences, I taught in the classroom, high school, for many years, and I remember the middle schoolers coming up, and I would always remind them that, a new experience is always going to feel very scary. And right now, I'm scared. And I've been just trying to focus on, Kino, just be yourself, man. Don't get carried away with anything else but being yourself, At the same time, I'm hearing little, things that are distracting me, pops in the computer and stuff that maybe some of you young people wouldn't get so distracted by, but it just kind of adds to the anxious feeling. Anyway, enough of being scared. But you know what? It is part of the theme, because that we're trying to get on in this show, because this show is about trying to get outside of our comfort zone in a certain respect. I keep hearing a pop. What is that pop? Oh, is that what it is? Okay. Well, those are comments coming in. Thank you for those comments. But you guys are distracting me. Just kidding. Keep them coming in. So I got to think of it in a positive manner, right? New environment. It's like, okay, those pops are positive. That means that you got people coming in. All right. Again, new environment, right? We're dealing with new experiences here at the Big Mountain Dub Club. And I think that in the United States and the world, we are getting used to whole new environments, right? New experiences, things that we've never, as a planet, have never been this linked in having the same experience, this scary feeling about the whole COVID thing. We read about eras of nationalism in the history books, and now we're going through one, where we have a lot of populist demagogues in the world that have a lot of support from people. These are people that I don't necessarily see eye to eye with, but they exist and they're not going to evaporate. So I've been sort of struggling with this dilemma of how much energy we put into trying to find common ground for with people on the other side, right? I'm part of, one interesting thing about what's going on right now is that there's no middle ground. It's black or white. I don't want to bring up the president of the United States name, but we know that a lot of it is circulating around his support. You either support him or you don't. Everybody's being forced to draw the line. At the same time, in the coalition that I support, the anti-Trump, there I said his name, we're experiencing a lot of struggle also too, right? Black Lives Matter has been this issue that so many of us feel really comfortable organizing around. I know that I think the term is very useful and has been a positive thing for us to not just organize and unite, but more importantly, really confront a lot of the things that we know we do not like and we're ashamed of being a part of in the United States. Some of the just the realities of racism and sexism and but the base of it, right? So I've really been, like a lot of us, been trying to figure out, okay, man, should I be even trying to engage? The frustrating part with what's going on with people that are not supporting the multicultural coalition, right, that includes Black Lives Matter, is that I know that people are saying things just to offend the other side, right? And racist language is being used a lot more frequently than any of us is used to. That really frustrates the situation, makes it impossible to find dialogue and really start a conversation. So the other option to trying to find some sort of common ground with the other side is us just focusing on our thing, right? Us just focusing more on trying to explain, coalesce, experience each other, get out of our bubble, which it can have any one of us of our cultural communities that we're trying to unite under this multicultural coalition. It's easy for us to fall into a cultural bubble. You know, I forget, am I using this camera or this? No, it's this, huh? Okay. So we have to understand that there's a lot of work to be done right there. And maybe we shouldn't even be worrying about the other side. Maybe we should just be focusing on the positive that we're working on and struggle through a lot of these things. But what it really takes is us consciously, individually breaking out of our bubble. Cultural bubble, black, white, brown. But the thing is that I think that it's that, you know, for white folks, it's a lot more critical, and it's a lot easier for white folks to fall into a cultural bubble because white folks have been fed. And, you know, and you look at me, right? I look like who knows, you know, where you think I came from. But my biological father, rest in peace, had red hair, freckles all over his face, and his skin was so white it was translucent, okay? And I'm very, very close to my Anglo family, extremely close. You have no, you know, I mean, it's just, so I guess what I'm trying to say is don't look at me and judge me by the color of my skin. If you look at my brother, you know, he's same mother, same father. We took on completely different complexions. And life, you know, life, our you know, our experience was different. Our experience, you know, was to a certain extent, was affected, you know, by the color of our skin, right? And I think he'll admit to that, you know. I've never even asked him that. But, you know, so I guess what I'm trying to say is white folks are always taught from the very beginning that pretty much they created this society and they're not going to learn anything from Mexicans or blacks or Asians or, you know, any one of the cultural communities that we're trying to get this coalition around. So, but don't take it personal, man. This is just something that's it's you know, we have to stop taking this shit. We got to really just make these courageous steps. Be brave, people. You know, be brave. I really feel like the majority of our problems is that we really haven't experienced each other. I was fortunate to grow up in a multicultural family, black, white, Mexican, and we had our issues, right? When we were kids, we got to listen in on all the conversations that people were saying about each other. But as a result, I feel comfortable in a lot of different communities, and I can walk right into a community and take my place. And that, you know, and at the same token, if I go somewhere else and I jump into a brand new community of people, I'm gonna feel self-conscious. I'm gonna feel uncomfortable, and I'm gonna have to make my decision. Keno, are you gonna be courageous? Are you gonna stick it out, man, or are you gonna get scared and run back to your cultural bubble? Just like what I'm doing with this right now. And I know I'm just chopping up the whole idea of what a broadcaster should be, but I got this. So this is what the show is all about. We've got some amazing people. My brethren, Bobby Budall, I was on the road with this guy for many years, back in the 90s. Reggae Sunsplash mostly, but we did a lot of Reggae Sunsplash shows, and throughout a 4-year period. And we're going to talk about a song that we wrote, that song that you guys just heard, Love Is the Only Way. He and I wrote that on the road, and it's a great story. And then unfortunately, we advertised, or I should say we promoted my sister, Lynn Copeland, but she's not going to be here. I think we're going to hook it up for next week. My son, Jacob, he's going to give us a young perspective of what's going on out there in the world of activism. He's a young activist. He's really involved in protesting, and so he's going to give us the street view of what's going on with that. And then we're going to also have a roundtable with my brethren, John Marquez and Paul Kastick, and we'll get more into what those guys are all about. But right now, I am very pleased to announce on the Big Mountain Dub Club, coming all the way from Costa Rica. In fact, we're talking about from Costa Rica to Jamaica. We're talking about Soulja Sound, Big Mountain Dub Club. Give it up. Respect to my brethren, Mr. Natty Crooks, selector.
Yes, man. Me there, brother.
Me lion. Thank you for coming on the show.
No, welcome, man. You're welcome anytime, brother.
Listen, I'm gonna be asking you some questions right before your performance, but for right now, can you give the people just a little taste of what we're gonna be hearing in a little while?
Yes, man. I go play some little Christopher Ellis dub plate, so nice of the players.
They say when selecting Natty Crooks is playing, a sound boy die eternally. Sound boy, today you die. Christopher Ellis says sorry. We are sorry. Yeah. Red Rose and Hearst. All right. Soulja Sound. Costa Rica to Jamaica to London, England to New York. Worldwide. I said, sound boy, you get shut down. Sound boy, look. I remember when sound first started. I didn't hear my sound get dark. No one cannot play like we. Yeah. When Soulja Sound start playing, all other sound boys run away. They cannot play like he does. No, we. Yeah. From the moment that he started choose, we could tell the others were afraid to be. Flashing a dance, we will done you. Now you know that we were made to be. He there for God. Ask them, where are you? He there for God. Putting a leader. He there for God. Ask him, where are you? Look, we make a sound but run away, and we miss all its spreading truth. And when the 45 play at the Hattie's magazine, that you, yeah. If you ever play like this, you would have a chance or two. Select the 90 play special, Soulja Sound is one of a kind. He there for God. Ask him, where are you? He there for God.
Yes, me lion. Give thanks, Natty Crooks, me brethren.
Yes, we come again now, boy. Soulja Sound, you come again, boy. Natty Crooks, you come again, boy. I'm Mr. 1. Natty Crooks are a obsession, Mr. 2. Soulja Sound, I kill them to chew, Mr. 3. Gampampa loving free, Mr. 4. Yes, we gonna give them some more, Mr. 5. And I must keep the dance all alive, Mr. 6. Yes, them have to run from quick, Mr. 7. And every sound one go ahead, Mr. 8. Soulja Sound, I lay them straight, Mr. 9. Tell them see your girl is mine, Mr. 10. One go tell see your friend will come again, boy.
Yeah, man.
You come again, boy. Soulja Sound, you come again, boy. And Father Tony come again, boy. Come Mr. Lyrics in a barrow and lyrics in a lady.
Yeah, man. Bravo,
Yes.
bravo.
Yes, man. Just rest in peace, Pat Anthony. You know, cause that is a sad news for the reggae music. You know, deep sad music, brother.
Oh man, he fly away home, my brother. Fly away home, man. Pray for you. Thank you for what that brethren gave us, that beautiful music while he was here, man. Pat Anthony.
Yes, for real, for real, for real.
Okay, my bro. So we're gonna see you in about 45 minutes.
All right, brother.
Okay, get ready. Big Mountain Dub Club. Natty Crooks. Thank you once again, bro. See you in a little bit.
All right, bless up, brother.
Okay, now we are going to get into a video. We had my brother Rain Gad last week. We're going to bring him back because that was just sort of a test run for me, trying to learn how to give a good interview. It's not easy, man. Or at least not for me. But this right now, Rain Gad and Big Mountain. This is a video I recorded in Ghana last October. Here we go, a beautiful little tune called Angelina. I hope you love it. Dub Club. La la la, oh eh, I tell everyone I love you. Ooh baby, I love you way.
Hey, it's me. Oh no. You don't wanna be mad at me, cause I leave at 3.
It's the Baba on the beat.
And oh my friend, you know how fast time keeps. Just let go and make we ride. Just let go and make we rock. Make we rock. Just let go and make we rock.
I'll put you up on my Instagram. Tell the whole world I'm a conquered man. Let everyone know that I do not wish to live without you. Angelina, won't you come to me?
Oh my lover,
Can't you see that I must leave at 3?
I say,
Oh eh,
I tell everyone I love you.
ooh baby, I love you way. I think about a bright and sunny day where I can take you so far away. I will be there for you. I will stand right by you and I will tell everyone I love you.
Just let go and make we rock. Just let go and make we rock. Make we rock. Just let go and make we rock. Many times you come my place, I don't give you transport, but my data finish, or don't give me hotspot. Careless girls want to make some quick bounce. They want to take your space, but they don't fit in your spot. Young dread don't lie, I say I love your way. But what more can I say if you don't believe I've changed? Young dread don't lie, I say I love your way. What more can I say if you don't believe I've changed? Oh, I'ma be there for you. I will stand right by you. I will tell everyone I love you. Just let go and make we rock. Just let go and make we rock. Make we rock. Just let go and make we rock. Make we rock. Just let go and make we rock.
It's the Baba on the beat.
Alright. Yeah, man. Angelina, Big Mountain, and my brethren, Rain Gad. We had a great conversation. We talked a little bit about music in Ghana, and Well, you can see it, but we're gonna have him back because, like I said, I was just practicing. Anyway, I love that tune. Really, really proud of that tune. Hasty Baba production, and reggae from Africa is just a total different thing, man. It's a wholly different experience, as you can hear. All right, listen. Yesterday I got to talk to my son Jacob. Like I told you, he's gonna give us the youth perspective, a street eye view, and here it is. Enjoy. Very happy to have my son Jakob McWhinney on the Dub Club. You can find his music on Spotify with his project New Me. He's been in a lot of bands, but the other stuff is difficult to find. Space Heat and Trips are some of the names that I remember clearly. How you doing, mijo?
Surviving. How about you?
You know what? Not too bad. This is episode 3, and I think we're gonna have a substantial improvement technically.
Nice. Ideally, everyone gets a little bit better than last, right?
That's the idea. That's the general idea.
Yeah.
Speaking of things getting better, I know you've been involved a lot in the protests going on in San Diego. Have you seen any improvement in the tactics that either side is using these days?
Improvements. I'm not sure exactly how to
Gauge that.
Define that, but there's definitely been that evolution. The first weeks of the protest directly after the killing of George Floyd in San Diego were very violent. Lots of tear gas used, lots of rubber bullets, baton rounds, pep balls, pepper spray, all that kind of stuff. It kind of culminated in a big protest out in La Mesa in East County, at which a grandma was shot in the face and put into a coma with a rubber bullet. And so we're definitely a little bit past those sorts of vicious tactics that were used early on. That being said, it's been very interesting to watch the protest movement in San Diego kind of go into this sort of hyperdrive evolutionary machine where, 1 week it's a bunch of people showing up with cardboard signs, and in a month there are, secret group chats and medics and supply people. It's very interesting, and it's been very heartening to see people find their own little niches within what ultimately needs to be an extremely wide movement if we ever hope to get any change.
What's it like to engage the other side, the people on the other side? Is there always counter protesters there?
There weren't always, but certainly in the past couple of weeks, what we've seen is a real increase in the aggression and the tactics of counter protesters. Chiefly this sort of overarching group that's split into a bunch of kind of splinter groups called DEC, or Defend East County, that popped up after the first La Mesa protest, at which there was a lot of violence. Police pushed people out into the neighborhoods, at which point some places got burned down, some banks got burned down, all while the cops really, really didn't do anything to stop to stop people who were causing trouble. They really seemed to encourage in an effort to kind of shape the narrative. And since then, DEC has really, really kind of ballooned into, it's run primarily out of this kind of secret Facebook group that has something around 20,000 members at this point. Very few of which I think actually live in San Diego. For example, the guy who originally founded it actually used to live in Santee, but now lives in Yuma. So, for decades, generations, you've heard of the kind of classic reactionary phrase, the outside agitator, what they would refer to as they would refer Martin Luther King as, what they would refer to protesters as. But in reality, what we're seeing on the streets is that the outside agitators are these counter protesters who are heavily, heavily armed and have the tacit, if not explicit, backing of local law enforcement. it's been a really discouraging thing to watch. That being said, the community protesters have not backed down and have not been scared out of their positions or out of their convictions, and so that in and of itself is a victory in my mind.
Now, when we're talking about exactly the goals and sort of like all of the intricacies involved in the political issue, and we see that there's a lot of going back and forth about Black Lives Matter. We see some people evolving their views, some people are getting cold feet. What about the young people? Do you see are those same sort of deliberations going on in people's mind in the young, or do you see the young holding on pretty steady to a conviction about their views of police and cops and the usefulness of a term like Black Lives Matter?
Well, whenever you have and even organization is in my mind too strong of a word, but a movement as loosely knit as Black Lives Matter movement, people's reasons for getting involved, people's end goals with it there are always going to be a million different sorts of influences and end goals, and people can be involved in the movement yet have two very different ideas of what it's really about. What I've seen, and I think is kind of you see time and time again throughout history, is that the young are much more ready to stand for the kinds of radical change that many older people are not. You hear Black Lives Matter, you hear, especially in this round of protests, you've heard defund the police become a chant and become a really sort of battle cry for a lot of these organizations and movements that have been protesting police brutality. And that is something that I think, especially for the young, is something that's understood very intrinsically. We look at police budgets and city budgets and see that, a lot of major cities are spending 25, 30, 40% of their budgets on police, twice that of most other public services, much more than almost all school systems, and just have brought a whole level of what's the right way to put it, even corruption into that, right? So as soon as you start to have budgets as bloated as this, people have to figure out what to spend the money on. And so in a lot of the same ways that the military industrial complex sort of worms its way into national budgets, and the Pentagon budget is, just so incredibly bloated, we see those same things in local and city governments. And I think what a lot of young people want, they look around this world, we're so much more connected than we ever have been. They look around this world at countries that they have been taught are not number one, because we all have this base level of indoctrination in the United States that America is this greatest country on earth. That's just a kind of laughable sort of myth. But kids nowadays, they can go on Twitter and talk to somebody in, Australia or the UK or Canada, and they can talk about how in those countries their tax money actually does things for them. They get universal health care. They don't have to be subjugated to a predatory pharmaceutical and medical insurance industry that just fleeces people and steals and really subjugates them in ways that are pretty unimaginable, right? So for a lot of people, it's a really, especially young people, it's a harsh reality to wake up to when they realize that people in other countries are living with a base level of comfort
they don't even have to worry
that the greatest country does not have.
About healthcare, huh? Yeah, I know. I'm dealing with that this week. Yeah.
And so this is just another one of those moments where people look at the budgets of city governments all across the country and say, wait, something's really fucking wrong here. We look at the ways our tax money is being spent, and they can really very clearly see something is incredibly wrong here, when, especially in a time like this. I mean, we haven't even talked about the elephant in the room, which is COVID, and the way that that's affected all of this. It's just,
And you guys have like time to talk about this stuff? I mean, is there discussions happening during at these protests? How is that kind of stuff organized?
There are definitely times to talk about this stuff. At most of these marches, there are speakers or organizers who give a brief sort of description of what exactly this march or protest is about. That's one that's very clear. The vast majority of these protests, they have actual demands, and the organizers have actual goals for these protests. And so very often, before you go on a march or before you occupy the parking lot of this police station, you'll have a speaker kind of going over exactly what, line by line they'd like to be accomplished. And to me, I think that the defunding of police has been, by and large, one of the most animating influences of this movement. 4 years ago, when the 4 or 5 years ago, when Black Lives Matter really burst onto the scene, Ferguson and Michael Brown and all that, I think that there was a lot more anger and a lot less of an understanding of what to do with that. And so I feel like the defund police movement, which actively advocates to take away some of that money from these bloated police budgets that we've talked about, and give it to social organizations that help those who are homeless or with job training, or those who, anything from needing, daycare to just needing food to be put on the table.
Yeah.
Once you start to deal with some of these base levels, some of these reasons that crime exists in your community, as opposed to giving it to a force that only shows up after the crime has occurred, that's how you start to deal with some of the actual issues that cause crime, instead of after the fact beating the shit out of somebody who stole something or shooting them in the back 7 times. There are a whole host of ways in which strong community negates the need for police officers. And so I think that taking steps in that direction, siphoning off some of because regardless of whether you support police or not, it shouldn't be a crazy thing to say that they've been given too many responsibilities now.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be controversial to say that a police officer shouldn't be there at a mental health call when somebody's struggling with, a mental break or something like that. That's not what a cop is for. You don't need somebody with a gun there to help somebody who's in emotional distress.
Violence things going on, and a lot of the
issues
with the homeless. I mean,
absolutely.
Jailing our homeless, that's ridiculous.
Which is another, you look at, for example, I believe it was, totally going to talk out of my ass here, I believe it was either San Francisco maybe, that rented out just a whole hotel to house homeless folks during COVID. Right. And you start to realize that these solutions have existed all the time. They could always rent out that hotel. They only decided to do so when those homeless people represented an actual structural problem for the rich people who live in that city. As soon as those homeless people could give, Mark Zuckerberg, who's walking down, the Tenderloin in San Francisco, as soon as they could give him COVID, that's when they decide to solve the problem. So there are solutions, but there's no political will for the most part. And it's just another example of the way that capitalism has disincentivized solving problems.
Well, that's going to be up to you guys, man. You guys got to keep working on this problem. And I want to continue this conversation. I really appreciate you coming on. And as you know, as you're going through the process, I know you're going to be out there again. I know listeners here on the Big Mountain Dub Club are going to be eager to hear, the progress as it's moving forward, and these type of issues, defunding the police. How do we get this message out across so that we make people understand that what we're really doing is we're reimagining our communities. Yeah, we're reimagining how we can get more involved and try to create some networking and safety nets for those people that are vulnerable in our community, man.
That's the key, having some imagination. Nobody expects us to solve this problem overnight. With a problem as entrenched as racism and police brutality and white supremacy and the evils of capitalism, all of these things are terrorist solutions that we work up towards, But defunding the police is at a base level one of those first steps, one of those first ways to really make a real actionable change on the ground. So definitely, I'm very excited to come back and talk more. I'll give you more updates, and I can definitely bring some people in who can shed some real insight on this as well.
We would love that. We would love that. We would love that. Gotta hear from the youth. Love you, mijo.
I love you too, Dad. You have a good day, okay?
Keep fighting that good fight.
Do my best.
You can't blame the youth, no. You can't fool the youth. You can't blame the youth when they don't learn. Fool the youth. You can't fool the youth, no. You can't blame the youth. You can't fool the youth when they don't learn. You teach the youth about Christopher Columbus, and you said he was a very great man. You teach the youth about Marco Polo, and you said he was a very great man. You teach the youth about Pirate Hawking, and you said he was a very great man. You teach the youth about Pirate Morgan, and you said he was a very great man. But you can't blame the youths, no. You can't fool the youths. You can't blame the youth of today. You can't fool the youth. You can't blame the youths, no. You can't fool the youths. You can't blame the youth when they don't learn. Fool the youth. Just like that, man. I was just inspired to pull that out. I am excited about the youth today, man. I see young people really making an effort to discard the baggage, so much of the negative baggage that we have suffered in previous generations, man. So go youth. Go youth. Don't listen to us, man. Don't listen to us. So disappointed in my country and the way people are acting right now. This negative ugliness. Remember that love, I believe, really is. I know it sounds gimmicky, but love is the solution to all our problems, man. Speaking of that, interview with my brother, Bobby Budall, coming right up. And Bobby's somebody that I spent a lot of time touring with. Back in the day, our friendship was just one of those beautiful things that we just gravitated to each other. I don't think I've ever seen, him not approach me with a smile on his face. Having said that, we've shared tough times too. Been to a funeral of a very dear friend, important friend together. So I know we shed some tears. I don't remember specifically, but on the road, you live with people, right? It's like a little village. And from 1992 till 1996, 97, I was touring primarily with Reggae Sunsplash Tour. And it was a very scary time for me because I was fresh to the music. I recorded my second album of all time, first Big Mountain album, Wake Up, in 1992. And it was intense. I was very intimidated, and to have brethren like Bobby there that you could kind of hold on to, and he was Jamaican, so it was like, it was really, really important, man, because we were the only American kids on the whole tour. The tour was just, the rest was just all Jamaican and people, English musicians and stage and everything. There was a lot of American stage hands, but or engineers and things like that. But the artists, they were all from Jamaica and England, man, and it was intense. It was intense, but I got through it. I got through it. I learned so much. I remember giving myself a pep talk just to go down into the hotel lobby and eat breakfast, because I knew everybody was going to be there and everybody was going to be hailing me up. But we also have to deal with everybody's, issues, right? Because some days you're just not happy. And some days you don't want to say hi, but you have to walk past these people when you're on tour with them, because you're all sharing the same hotel, you're sharing the same buses, you're sharing the same stage. And I was there with my legends. I mean, I should say the people that I considered legends in the music. So here it is, my interview with Mr. Bobby Budall, lighting artist, or I should say lighting director for Reggae Sunsplash, set director for Third World's Broadway debut. And I'm going to be repeating this stuff because I say this again. So let's just let it go. Tape roll. All right, Big Mountain Dub Club. It is my great pleasure to introduce my good friend, Mr. Bobby Budall. Began his career as a lighting director. He calls himself an artist, has worked with just a heavy, heavy list of stars, including Akon, Marcus Miller, Busta Rhymes, Queen Latifah, Natalie Cole, Whitney Houston. It just goes on and on. Also a massage therapist. That's something I'm just learning about you, my brethren. One of his greatest, feathers in his cap is being the lighting director for Third World. And I guess you guys also did a Broadway production of some sort, Explanitations, excuse me. Most of our great years together was touring on the Reggae Sunsplash tour, Tony Johnson's worldwide Reggae Sunsplash tour. And of course, you were the lighting director there. And it's all been downhill for me. Reggae Sunsplash was the pinnacle of production. I've never been in a show that was organized so perfectly and everything was on time. Those tours were intense for me. I don't know if I showed it back then, but I was shaking in my boots the whole time.
No, you guys stuck it out though. It was a big experience for me too. Coming out to Jamaica. The guys who really developed Sunsplash, it was the first festival of that event at that time, and the music was good, but the visual representation and the packaging, and Tony Johnson and Synergy, the guys in Synergy, they had a vision, and they wanted to take the music to the four corners of the earth. With me working with them, I have worked with probably every possible reggae artist there is, including the Great Big Mountain.
But so when I met you, that was right around the time when you were first getting out of Jamaica for the first time?
No. When I left Jamaica with Third World. I went on tour with Third World. It was after their Reggae Broadway production, Explanitations. I designed the set, and I was the stage manager. I was in art school at the time, and I was invited, and I started doing it with the guys, and the show was such a tremendous success.
Wow.
They invited me to go on tour with them.
Now, what year are we talking?
Maybe this late 70s.
And you were
going into,
the stage manager. I mean,
yeah, I was in art school at the time, and the art school was next door to the little theater where the event was. And Kara, the percussionist, he passed away recently too. Much respect to him, you know. I was good friends with him, and he used to come to the art school and just hang out in the classes and stuff. And I got introduced to Third World then, and I went to a rehearsal once with him, and I mean, I was just blown away. I mean, it was like a spiritual calling for me at the time. You know, it was a marriage of art and music and dance and theater. For me, I can't divorce them. You know, I'm a visual artist, a spoken artist. You know, it's all connected.
and those were magical times, bro.
Yes, yes, it was. It was.
Bob was still alive.
Yeah.
So there was that magic. I think, you know, for those of us who don't live in Jamaica, we wonder, like, what was that like? I can remember the day that somebody handed me a newspaper and it said Bob Marley had passed away. I remember holding that newspaper and wanting to cry because I knew that I was never going to be able to see him live. Did you ever see Bob live?
Yeah, man. I saw him at the One Love concert where he took the two political leaders' hands and put over his head, and the lightning fell out of the sky. I never forget that.
Oh, you were there. You were there for that.
Yeah, I was in art school at the time, and we worked with Neville Garrick, who was Bob's artistic director and lighting director, to do the backdrops for the One Love concert at the National Stadium. You know, but just to go back to the art school thing that you said,
Yes,
was it
yes.
in art school? You see, at the time too, in talking about reggae music, you have to talk about Rasta and Rastafari, because at that time, Rasta music and Rasta and reggae music were together, was bonded together.
Right.
But there was a certain divisiveness. You know, it wasn't the acceptable thing. You know, the Rasta man was a boogeyman, and you're gonna get crazy if you smoke weed, and you know what I'm saying, you know, uptown and downtown was separated. But the art school was a cultural melting pot and a social melting pot for me. You know, it was such an integration, so much love, so much. Not only within the classes themselves. At the time, it was actually called the Cultural Training Center. Before it was called the Jamaica School of Art. Now it's the Edna Manley School for the Performing Arts. And it houses the School of Dance, the School of Drama, the School of Art, and Drama Art, music.
What city? What city is this in?
It was in Kingston,
You
Jamaica.
grew up in Kingston.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And at that time, it was such a blending of the social youth. You know, I learned to play kete drums in the art school, and I'm from a typical uptown middle class family. You know, and at the time, although I was doing that kind of stuff, it wasn't that acceptable by the uptown or the higher strata of society. You know, and now, you know, there's a picture of Bob Marley as you come into the airport in Jamaica. You know, it just goes to show you the transition of things.
But now, what about the homegrown music that came before reggae, the rock steady, the ska? Was that also sort of looked down upon?
Yeah, but even before that, there was coming up. You know, there was that authentic music from the Maroons.
But this was enjoyed by the people. Was this music that was like in the heart? I mean, it's like we know that it probably wasn't played at the president's palace, the high social gatherings maybe, but maybe this was the heartbeat through the streets of the people.
You see, the music came from the drum. You know, the Rastaman always talk about the heartbeat. It's all about the heartbeat. You know, and that's the foundation of the rhythm of the Rastafari and Nyabingi. That's the drumming chants that's done by the Rastafarian community in celebration. You know, and it grows from there, it builds from there. You know, reggae music is a music of protest, but it's also a music of love. And at the time, when I was a student there, that was when dub poetry was introduced. You know the term dub poetry, people like Okwo Noro. I went to school with Okwo Noro. Okwo Noro was at the drama school. Mikey Smith, another dub poet. You know, in England, there's Linton Kwesi Johnson.
Yeah, man, it's no funny.
And for me, it just opened my iris. You know, it just overwhelmed me.
Wow.
And it's like a slingshot. It just, you know, I just wanted to delve into this thing. You know.
How much was what was happening all around affecting Jamaica back then? I mean, we're talking. The Vietnam
politics.
War was going on.
No, in Jamaica, it was political turmoil, like anywhere else, you know what I'm saying? But there was the divisiveness, you know, one tribe against the other tribe, you know, the same tribalism that is all over the world, you know. You know, I try not to focus on that, you know, but it was a rough time, you know.
It's a reality. And actually, you know, that part of what we're talking about today is tribalism. And how much energy should we expend trying to find some sort of compromise? And how much do we say, no, you know, it's better we just focus on our tribe. We just try to focus on, you know, the message and trying to refine the concept of what we really are trying to say right now. Because right now, nobody's listening to each other, Bobby.
Yeah, because there's no communication. You know, you can't.
And I know a lot of it has to do with our leader, right? Our leader is not facilitating that in any way.
Yeah, but humanity too is at fault because, you know, somehow mankind just seem to be straying away from God, you know what I'm saying? From the sun and the moon and the stars and the rain, and you know, the focus is on things that are divisive. You know, man is worshiping man and money right now. You know,
I think back to those days when Tony Johnson, and we should talk a little bit about Tony. Tony Johnson was this person that he was ultimately a tour promoter, a reggae promoter, but he was more than that. He was a visionary. He was somebody that believed that reggae had tremendous purpose, and part of his responsibility was making sure that it was going to get out of Jamaica and it was going to go all over the world. And of course, he's the you know, I forget exactly how the whole original Sunsplash, which was the first real big reggae festival, I guess, in Jamaica. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly.
No, you're saying it correctly.
He was involved in the birth of that. And,
right.
But Tony was not just a reggae promoter. He was a tremendous businessman. He had so much skill in being able to sell reggae Sunsplash, which he did all over the place. And we didn't always sell out the show, but he always had he had a way to make it happen, man. I mean, and we had buses full of people traveling across the country, and it was always like 60, 70, 80 people in buses, and it was like this amazing show that always ran on time, never was less than 5 minutes off schedule. Tony seemed so larger than life. And whenever Tony would call me to his room and say, Kino, come hang, come with us. I want you to come up to my room. We're going to bond weed and we're going to party tonight. It was after show.
Yeah.
And you were always there, Bobby. Tell us about how you met Tony Johnson and why were you guys so tight?
Okay. First of all, Reggae Sunsplash came about with the collaboration of 5 brethren, I think, and it was called Synergy Productions. It was, what Sunsplash did, it was the only festival at the time, it was the biggest reggae festival in the world. All these other festivals, Reggae Sunsplash set the stage for that. In Montego Bay, Jamaica, for the first event, we brought in lighting and audio from the United States, the first equipment that Jamaican people had never seen.
Wow.
And I was the lighting director at the time.
Wow. I didn't realize that you were also the lighting director of Reggae Sunsplash in Jamaica, man. And then Bob played how many Reggae Sunsplash?
Bob played one, and it was actually called Reggae Mud Splash because it rained so hard. I remember being in the back of a truck and jumping out of the back of the truck when Bob hit the stage. And the mud was so thick, when I lifted my foot out, my shoes was left in the mud.
So right about 1994, you find yourself on Reggae Sunsplash tour. But we worked together in 92. We were together in 92.
You guys have been on the show how many times? On the festival, Reggae Sunsplash?
We were with Reggae Sunsplash from 92 till 96. It was
you did Japan. You did Japan also, right?
No, we didn't do Japan till 94.
Okay, those shows were awesome.
Oh,
I mean, thousands of people, Osaka, Sendai, Tokyo, singing reggae music word for word, Bridget.
Oh my goodness!
Rain falling and them not even going nowhere.
That 1994 in Tokyo was.
Oh my goodness!
I just remember.
Oh my goodness!
They had those big bamboo poles and they were pushing the tarps to try to get the water to.
Water,
because
yes,
the water
yes, sir.
was so heavy and it was creating, like these big pockets of water in the tarp.
I remember the lights in the rain. You could see the raindrops just from the spotlights ballyhooing over the audience, and oh man, it was magical.
And because I know that because the song came out on our album Resistance, and we didn't record Resistance, I think, till end of 95. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So you hand me this poem, and you probably know a little bit more than I do. I don't remember what I did with that poem, but I just know that I was inspired. And then somehow, I remember the excitement around it because you and I were both like elated at the fact that, wow, we're writing a song, and I had already come up with the chords. And I think that I even made the band try it out during sound check or something.
You did, yeah, the very next day.
The very next day.
Yeah, it blew me away, man. We're setting up a sound check because we get to the venue before you guys do, the crew. So the lights and the sound get set up, and we do our little check, and then you guys come in. And you came to the sound check to check your gear and your mic, 1, 2, 1, 2, and you rolled off this tune. And the words that you're singing to this tune is from the poem that I handed you on the tour bus the night before. And it just blew me away because, I have never had words that I've written put to music.
But the lyrics go.
Yeah.
The time has come to test the fate of all mankind.
Yes.
This lyric trips me out
Yeah.
because I wouldn't have, that must have been your lyric. To live or die or make a better way.
Mhm.
Live or die or make a better way. We've reached a crucial time.
Mhm.
And bickering about our differences
Mhm.
will only feed the pain.
Mhm.
We must retain the positive
Mhm.
and follow God's message again.
Amen. Amen. Those words are still relevant today in 2020, you know, and for some reason, back in the time when the words was put in your hand and your spirit, you felt this. You actually not rewrote it, but redirected it, so it could come out in song. And I was just blown away. I was just blown away by your interpretation. Really and truly, man.
You know, it seems like when I look back then, I think that this was before 9/11, right?
Mm-hmm.
This was before this great religious, like, because I look back at Iraq, that was not, it wasn't a religious war, but it was a war that our leaders manipulated us into believing it was. Now we look back and we know it was about money. It was about oil. It was about the things the United States does, right? We go around and we just secure our business interests and cause so much destruction along the way. And I know that, you know, we were kind of sensing that something was happening because there was a lot of anti-Muslim rhetoric going on. There was just a lot of ethnic things, but we weren't sure where it was all moving, where it was all going. And now I see Black Lives Matter sort of representing this new coalition that's building. That, you know, Obama had a lot to do with sort of finding this group of people that mean so much to each other. You know, the progressive white population in the United States, and then with all of the new immigrants in the United States, and then, of course, you know, the population that has helped us really create the framework for this new struggle. But there is a new coalition building. I go outside, you know, I go to see the youth, man, in the United States, and the youth, they are embracing multiculturalism. They are embracing just the idea of people uniting underneath this banner of humanity and letting people just be who they want to be, live the life they want to live. You really, you know, I mean, you guys with Reggae Sunsplash, Todd, and the organization that I came to find out when you were already intact there, it showed me pride. It showed me pride in what you do, and to be prepared for every show, and to play every show like it's the last show you're ever gonna play, man. And
just do your thing. We got you. You know, you just do what you do. We got you. You know, we're gonna make you shine like the brightest star in the sky. We're gonna make you so. I'm going to give you a story. The Los Angeles Times wrote an article one year. I don't remember what year it was, and they said the sound and lights was like lightning and thunder. That's the greatest compliment I've ever had in my entire career. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, things like that people don't know. You know what I'm saying? Just keep that to, you know, because I'm pretty shy and I don't like blowing my own horn. But for a newspaper of that magnitude, you know, can use those.
You know,
those godly terms. You know what I'm saying? You know you're doing a good job. You know?
Lightning, thunder, brimstone, and fire, fire. But brother,
Yeah, man. Give thanks, man.
I
Give
want
thanks.
you on the show all the time, okay? Even if it's coming and we just vibe like this.
So we can pause there right now, and because I'm kind of
No, we're
we're
done.
Yeah, okay, all right. Well, you run me hot key, you know, you run me ragged.
Oh, my friend, Bobby Budall. I got just mad love for that man. Just so nice to link up with him, you know. And like I said, you know, you spend time with people and they're just your brethren, and then life, you grow apart for some reason or another. And then things like this bring you back together. Life is such a blessing, and give so much thanks to Reggae Sunsplash, to all the incredible artists. If I get started, I know I'm, you know, but Marcia Griffiths and Freddie McGregor, they were two people that really were so important to Big Mountain and encouraging us. You know, they were sort of like, well, Marcia was, you know, the matriarch, shall I say, of Reggae Sunsplash. And she just spread that love. And Freddie was like, yo, come here. You boys come over here. I'm going to tell you what it's all about. And he did that right off the bat. So, Freddie, I love you, bro. And thank you. Thank you for all that wisdom. Bestowing all that wisdom. All right, Big Mountain's got a new remix of an old tune. A tune that came out originally in our 1992 album, Wake Up. I remember playing this song on Reggae Sunsplash Tour in 1992. A tune called Peaceful Revolution. Hope you love it.
Is in desperate need of reassessment. It seems the people just don't feel at home with the decisions of the government, no. And though the tension rules the land, it's something we've got to understand. To change the problems that we have right now, we've got to use our minds and not combat. Peaceful revolution. 'Cause now we know what we're fighting for. We're gonna finally unite for sure. Peaceful revolution. Our future looks bright as gold. Peaceful revolution. This is the time for peace, can't afford no war. If we could find the roots of our conscience, I know the path that we'll take will be right. Then we can start on a brand new tomorrow. Push all the negative vibrations aside. We must forgive what's done's been done. Let's clear the air and the truth will come. The time for unification is now. But guess what? The Most High's gonna show us how, yeah. No more putting off for tomorrow what we can accomplish today. Enough with all of this procrastination. We've got a beautiful world to say. It's a revolution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 'Cause now we know what we're fighting for. Peaceful revolution. This time we're gonna unite for sure. Peaceful revolution. Our future looks bright as gold. Peaceful revolution. We can't accept the story we've been told. Judge's wisdom can show us our way. Prime ministers and presidents, they only try to confuse the day. We gotta be awake
Yeah, man. And the moment we have been waiting for. So happy to have my brother, Natty Crooks, from Soldier Sound on the Big Mountain Dub Club. How you feeling, bro?
Yes, man, everything nice, everything irie, brother. Me like how you deal with the vibes, brother. Me like it, brother.
Give thanks, bro. Well, it's important to have you on the show today. We're talking about multicultural communities. I know Costa Rica is a multicultural community, and you were telling me a little bit about your roots, man, and it's a interesting story. So you were telling me San Jose, which is on the west coast, more or less, getting towards that, right? Or is it inland?
Well, me live right now is San Jose. That is the capital,
Mm-hmm.
where a whole heap of people live, and it's like the fast life,
Right. But you grew up a time in Limon, which is on the Caribbean side.
Yes, with my father, there is more like a country place,
Nice.
So people live year by year. Some people plant they things where they need to eat, and it's different like San Jose, it's different.
Did I tell you that I grew up part of my life in Honduras?
No, you never tell me.
Yeah, man. So
All right.
I was 6 and 7 years old. My father worked for Dole, and we lived on the Caribbean side, very close to a town called La Ceiba.
Oh, okay, good.
And I remember going to Costa Rica, when I was a youth back in those days. So, I remember the beat and the vibe of the Caribbean. I think that's one of the reasons that really I gravitated towards reggae music.
All right.
What's it like on the Caribbean side of Costa Rica? Are there primarily black communities there as well?
Yes, well, to tell you the truth, most of the black people who live there are descent from Jamaicans,
Uh-huh.
It's
Okay.
it's like the father of my grandfather, him come from Jamaica,
Got it, man. And why? Why was there so much immigration from Jamaica, do you know?
Well, I think so. Some people bring them in a ship because they supposed to do some plantation and train, and they supposed to go back, because even Marcus Garvey was here and in phone a Black Star Line. So some people buy the ticket and everything, but me don't know why the ship never got here. I think some people maybe go by their way, but maybe the father of my grandfather, he may stay here, and him live, yeah, so
Nice. And of course, you're mentioning the great Marcus Garvey, the founder of the UNIA, and had this great dream, and for a while he was made it happen. The Black Star Line, right? A fleet of ships that primarily served black people, so that black people could communicate with each other, could travel, could experience the world, but based upon the unity of the black diaspora, people that primarily had come as a result of the Middle Passage, right, Regin, the slavery from Africa. So we give enough props to Marcus Garvey. I always tell people the first scene in the Baby I Love Your Way video was a picture of Marcus Garvey, and I remember fighting. We had to fight the record company for that, man. Yes, I. Well, Brethren, listen. Let's get to the music. I know the people want to hear the music, man. I know you got a serious foundation selection going on. Tell us about what you're gonna play today. And one more thing, though. Actually, before that, tell people, for those people that don't understand the reggae sound system culture, can you give them a little idea of why it's so strong and why it's growing so quickly?
Yeah, well, what I think so the reggae system culture is back in the days in Jamaica, where the sounds are play the 45, then the artists wanna do doublets. So they also can get them promotion, you know, and mention the DJ names or the sound name. So from back in the days, that's what it happened. And right now the thing get more popular, so many people want to get dubs, and there are many songs in Japan, USA, Europe, where all places, you know. But basically, a dubplate is a representation for a sound system or for a DJ, so people know they have that, you know.
Irie. Now, is there a lot of reggae sound system sounds in Central America all throughout, or just Costa Rica?
Well, when me know, well, in Costa Rica is there next song we have many dubplates too, you know.
Yeah, nice, man. Hopefully get down there
Well,
and check a little bit of that vibe.
Well, maybe in Panama there are people who have dubplates because they're the people know a lot of reggae music, you know.
Irie. Thank you, my brother.
And
Well, without... Oh, go ahead. Finish. Sorry.
I think so. Also in Colombia, maybe it's there people who have dubplates too. I think so, you know.
Oh, man. Nice.
I think so.
Big up Colombia.
But then in the islands, is there a lot of people, you know, like in Trinidad and Tobago, Bermuda, French Guyana.
Irie. So it's growing, and it's only getting bigger.
Yeah, it's only getting bigger, you know. It's only getting bigger and bigger.
But right now, on Big Mountain Dub Club, we got the fierce Soldier Sound about ready to give us a set of music. And I want to hand it over.
Yeah, me I go play some nice dubplates, some foundation dubplates, reggae roots, you know, cause we are gonna nice up the place, you know.
All right, thank you, bro. Let's hear it, Big Mountain Dub Club family, all the way from Costa Rica to Jamaica, Soldier Sound, featuring selector Natty Crooks. Soundboy, you're dead.
Yeah, man, for real. For real.
Soundboy die eternally. Soundboy today you die. Christopher Ellis says sound.
This is Christopher Ellis, you know?
Yeah.
He's the great son of Alton Ellis.
Soldier Sound. Costa Rica to Jamaica to London, England to New York, worldwide. I said, Soundboy, you get shut down. Soundboy, look. I remember when the sound first started. Right then and there, my sound get dark. No one cannot play like yeah. When Soldier Sound start playing, all other sound boys run away. They cannot play like he does. No, yeah. From the moment that he start playing tunes, he could tell the others were afraid to be. Crashing the dance floor, we were done you. Now you know that we were made to be. Kingdom, oh God. Listen, where are you? Kingdom, oh God. We'll be the kingdom. Kingdom, oh God. Asking where are you? Kingdom, oh God. Look, when I can sound but run away, and when this song is spreading, I'm like the 45 play, at the end is magazine, and not you, yeah. If you ever believe like this, you would have a chance to go through. Select the 93 special, the Soldier Sound is one of a kind. Oh God. Where are you? Oh God. Look what we're putting in your oh God. Where are you? I said, we're gonna kill them. We're gonna kill them. Oh God.
Yes, that's the great Christopher Ellis. Then we're going to play some man called Candyman. Him do a lot of dubplates covers with Bob Marley and them thing there, you know. It's a wicked artist. Wicked.
From Costa Rica to Jamaica, I don't know say where a rude boy sound. All Rasta man large upon himself. See? Jamaica, Costa Rica. And the world. Drop it. Somewhere listen to this one, cause more. Later on we shall take them to the very ground. Soldier sound was made strong by the hands of Jah Almighty. We forward in this competition triumphantly. Need no help to kill. He'll jump on some boys. All soldiers sound ever have. Champion song, yeah. Egyptian song. Emancipate yourselves from jump on some boys. Though we get sound, can't test soldier sound. Have no fear for atomic jumping. None of them can curse us at all. So long, soldier killing sound boys, while they still let us stand and look. I know it's just a part of it. We've got to kill the sun crew. Need no help to kill. He'll jump from some clothes. All soldiers sound ever have. A champion song singing.
Yes. So right now we are going to play BC, a special duplicate also on a Bob Marley rhythm, you know, BC.
Selector Natty Crooks, and him run the thing. See, soldier sound, biggest sound in the world. See, run the whole of Costa Rica, straight to Jamaica, and BC assessment. See, original.
Natty Crooks are champion. Sitting in your church on Sunday, thinking who you gonna screw one day. Who you gonna thief, who you gonna rob. Soldiers wanna tell you, say you can't fool God now. Every day you follow Jah. God, you say some big time selector. Tell me right the people from your name, that's how you get wicked when Natty Crooks are play. I use the seller sounding now. Yeah. Tell you soldier sound and champion sound. Hey. Running Costa Rica to Jamaica all around. Yeah. Tell you soldier sound, them a champion sound. Hey. Here we come again. He got sound man with your little drum band. Tell me where you get your first love from. How you plant your field, how you make your deals. Then come tell your picnic, them still don't smoke weed. Let your air condition up the stand on the bar. Impress a little easy, girl, with your pretty girl. When you done, she say she have the get. But a friend you have no friend when Natty Crooks are play. Why you still tell us sounding now? Yeah. Tell you soldier sound, them a champion.
Yes. Right now we are going to play a live living legend, you know? Live living legend called U-Roy, you know?
Yeah, man.
This legend deserve all the honor and the respect, you know?
Somewhere down in Costa Rica.
Natty
Crooks.
U-Roy.
Because you don't know your lad.
Papa.
Right, sir? You know, once in a fight, like I would say, why not look to get together and live with one identity? Some boy, you got to run all the town like I would say. Soldiers sound out rebel. We rebel and tell you. We rebel. Extraordinary rebel like I would say. So we are the killing sound. We are the murdering sound. And we don't play with no phone and don't play with no liquid. Don't come so like I would say. Now so the sound of the rubber dub each and every day. They come on down with me, no matter what you say, you will be the play. Rubber dub style, run away some point, start to run wine. The big sound gonna show the sound of play. My God, Natty Crooks, so we are you ready? We're another period like this is ready. We ready. And we have a little fun, but people with love, great fun with children. Capture them. We are a murderer. And we're not better with the border, we're not better with the little eating, something like that. So we are new baby. The man of God is social sound. We ready. Extra body, never like that. Never with a car, you know what I mean? No some boy can be quick from fast. And I can give you the applause. I'm saying Natty Crooks every time. Natty baby. Let me say.
Yes. So I go play our next legend. We call Max Romeo, you know? The other them who know Max Romeo. Put the lighters up, the phone up, everything.
So just original jazz sound, you don't know. From Costa Rica to Jamaica, Max Romeo. Kill them dead before them spread. Rush them. Oh yeah. Jump and get murdered tonight. Oh yeah. If you think and get slaughtered, one step forward, two steps backward. Soldier sound kill jump and tonight. One step forward, two steps backward. Natty Crooks sitting and tonight. One day you're a bad sound. Well dressed. Tonight you're a dead sound. Clean shape, onward, forward, don't step backward. Soldier sound, you jump on tonight. Onward, forward, don't step backward. Soldier sound, shot for murder tonight. Are you a commercial sound? Are you just a come around? This is the kind of decision. Soldier sound, wanna know now. Onward, forward, don't step backward. You could jump and get slaughtered tonight. Onward, forward, don't step backward. Jump and you get tonight. Straight is the road that leads to destruction. How do you let the road to righteousness? It's never. Soldier sound, I tell you, say. The truth is that tell me how you are come.
Yes, that's what's Max Romeo, you know, a leading legend. But we can't leave the queens behind. We're going to play some female. We call down pain, you know. The great down pain.
You can hide. Natty Crooks gonna find you. The soldier sound. Ready or not, here we come. You can hide. Natty Crooks gonna kill you. He that someone. I mean, my friend. Yo, this one is dedicated to them circus going around town. I want a lot of Natty Crooks and soldier sound for Costa Rica. Here it is. Die, die, die. Eat someone. Cause the soldier sound gonna kill you.
The people.
Yes, yes, yes. Natty Crooks gonna kill you, the whole world over. And if you dance Natty Crooks, baby, the song that's sound. to Costa Rica. When it's Friday. You have to pack up and run away. Well, that's not it. You will die and will be buried. If you test Natty Crooks and the Soldier Sound, you will lead a 10-foot junk and sound bomb. You will die and will be buried. You will end up in the sand.
Yes. That's the great down pain. Right now, me I go play Purple Man, where him pass and gone already, you know, the last month. Rest in peace, me brother. Rest in peace, you know.
Yeah,
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Soldier sound, the rural sound, the champion sound, the movement sound. Yeah, kick it away. Original Purple Man to that. Now sound boy. You think I'm ready to be hunt? You know, jump for it, original Purple Man to that. Me going on a sound boy hunting. Everyone some jump boy, we are gonna kill them. Me say we going on some sound boy hunting. Shake it up and down, yes we are gonna play it. Take on the first sound we catch a feel like a jump on. Only pop them foot and then we pop off the man. The next one we catch a one like a champion. So just go we get them out of motion. Remember Purple Man, they Mr. Old Champion. And everywhere me go, me a very obsession. We go in on some sound boy hunting. Every get some jump and down, we a go kill him. Because anywhere we go, we keep you rocking and sing. Remember Soldier Sound, it's a the king in the ring. Along with Purple Man, I take on them every him. And everywhere we go, you know we keep chanting. This is we go in on a sound man hunting. We go in on a sound man hunting. And if you tell Soldier Sound, we are gonna kill them. If you tell Soldier Sound, we are gonna kill them. We call, hold upon them and knock, hold upon them and knock, hold upon them and knock, come test the champion. Hold upon them and knock, hold upon them and knock, hold upon them and knock, come test the champion. Remember Soldier Sound, we call the real champion. And everywhere we go, them have a shit champion. Long with the general, we need Purple Man. And everywhere we go, them say, you know, they got a son, they got me going on a sound boy hunting. Everyone some jump on, we are gonna kill them. They say we go in on some sound boy hunting. Shake it up and down.
Yes. Purple Man. Right now we are gonna play Jimmy Riley. We also passed away years ago, you know, but a good brethren, you know.
Yeah, man.
Real brethren.
Yeah, man.
Selector, Natty Crooks, large. Anywhere I lay my head, that's the place. Anywhere I lay my head, there is where I call my home. No, yeah, we'll be waiting there, and any song that comes me, going down before the count of three. I know. Yeah, we'll be waiting there every step of the way. Sound boy to the line. My days are blessed. Jaja, I'm doing fine. Time is moving fast. I'm home as this comes straight. For you can't miss the soldier sound. It's much too late. Anywhere I lay my head, there is where I call my home, and I know drum band will be waiting there. Move, back, move. No blows you're gonna get. Drum and sound boy, if I was you, I would be starting to fret. Oh, sound boy, you're going down. Oh, sound boy.
Yes, that's what Jimmy Riley just passing through, you know. And right now we are going to pray a great icon called Pat Anthony, who passed away years ago, you know. Really, brethren. Really.
DJ Natty Crooks, and the Costa Rica massive. I don't know, straight from Costa Rica to Jamaica, and from Jamaica to Costa Rica. Worldwide thing, see? And Soldier Sound, what I'm doing live. true. Soldier sound I kill them to true. Mr. 3, got Papa laughing 3, Mr. 4. Yes, we gonna give them some more. Mr. 5, and I must keep the dance all alive. Mr. 6, yes, them have to run come quick. And Mr. 7, and every song one go ahead. Mr. 8, soldier sound I lay them straight. Mr. 9, tell them see your girl in mine. Mr. 10, why got them see your friend will come again. Boy, Natty Crooks you come again. Boy, soldier sound you come again. Boy, I'm Paddy Tony come again. Boy, come Mr. Lyrics in your barrow and lyrics in your lane. Inna me head out when me invent them. Inna the dance when me come to sing them and come again. Boy, and Natty Crooks you come again. Boy, and soldier sound you come again. Boy, so yes we come again. Boy, and Natty Crooks you come again. Boy, and soldier sound you come again. Boy, I miss the one. So that's one of them.
Yes. That was Freddie Mac. That was Pat Anthony. Right now we are going to play Freddie McGregor dubplate, you know. Him wicked. One of my brethren too, you know. Real Freddie McGregor.
Natty Crooks, I don't know. Straight out of Costa Rica. Freddie McGregor got it, that's how he killed some. So watch this. Pick him up. Dead. I breathe these things in prophecy. Soldier them just kill like that something like that too. Yeah. Look how soldier them crumble like that sound just like it. Yes, so play the rubber dub and the best them feet all right. Hey man, heard I that sound is a must time to. No matter how they fuss and go on. Because that releases the prophecy. I will not soon remember the sound and somewhere running. They want to bow down to the ground, the bishop got them on lockdown. I will not run my dogs out to play for people running. Pray that there will be big and a national team that got us on the movement. I won't even sound with the more than
if you listen, if you watch Facebook, you'll see that they're still playing. I'll let you know right before I
yes, I'm in the rubber double, watch them and them a jump and rap. Right now, right that sound is a must try to. No matter how they fuss and go on, long time to be these things in prophecy. I will not soldier them a word of some.
Yes, that's the great Freddie McGregor. Right now we are going to play some Glenn Washington dubplate, you know, just be nice of the place, like always, you know.
Select Natty Crooks large drop from Costa Rica. I really
You must do that, never let you go. You are the star of the show. Yeah. A soldier sound it was plain in the north. Cracking some sweet rubber dub from dusk till dawn. Strolling out in the moonlight, hoping that we could get out of sight. Sweet reggae music playing all night long, holding a feeling only so strong. Soldier sound is a champion sound. Enough little gin for them dumpling down. Idiot sound goes on around. Would like to test the number one sound. Now. But people soon they realize soldier sound is the champion sound. With more dubs to set you free, soldier sound will win the prize. That little sound boy pretty soon will realize that if they cross the border, soldier sound is not afraid to kill someone like you. And the ladies realize soldier sound is the number one champion sound. Playing music we treasure, soldier sound is the number one champion sound. Enough men and people criticize, we will hold on to love, we know that it's wise. And if we got to do it over, soldier sound is the number one champion sound.
We won't let you go.
Yes, yes, that is the great Glenn Washington. Right now we are going to play a big bad duplicate from the man called Big Mountain, my brother, you know? For real.
Right. The champion sound. That boy is going to meet his grave tonight. The soldier sound system.
Rewind. Wheel. Come again.
Straight, bro.
That boy is going to meet his grave tonight.
Kill him.
The soldier sound system will take no prisoners. The dance, it is no place for second rate. And soldier sound, like the Natty Crooks, they never will hesitate to kill. Oh yeah, kill them dead. We know that sound boy deserve no mercy. Some boy dead tonight. No mercy, no. So the sound just shines so bright. Expert selection tonight. So the sound with the best and right. Yeah. The moon begins to shine and light the sky. Poor little sound boy, he's melting before our eyes. The soldier sound, they have the power to kill. And little sound boy is now writing out his will. Cause he knows so far from grave. We want soldier sound God, but we must not play. Yeah. Sound boy dead tonight. No mercy for sound boy tonight. So the sun just shines so bright. People get what they want tonight. So the sound is the best and right. Run away, sound boy. The legendary mountain team of the soldier. Sound. Bring on the Natty Crooks. Costa Rica, Jamaica, what the people say. We love you,
Yes, the big bad mountain, you know? For real, brother. For real.
Pow.
Right now we are going to play singing melody, you know? For nice up the place and keep with the fire thing already.
And that's everything there. Yeah? And that's everything there. All right, I'm going to fix them up there. I sing a melody with the Natty Crooks. Yo, that's it. Costa Rica lady. Back to them short wire. I guess now it's time. It's time to give up. I think it's time. Soldier Town, yes, I got them sexy ladies. And the lipstick marks on your coffee cups. Oh, yeah. Ooh, lady, he's got a pistol carrying motion. He's got a hand, he's got a dream. Gotta leave it, I gotta leave it only and now. For real, whatever you play, whenever you say we're gonna kill you, Soldier Sound will kill for good. Sound boy, we're gonna kill you all for good. Whenever we're playing, the sound of the song will play, yeah. Natty Crooks is playing for good. Sound boy, we're gonna kill you all for good. For the ladies, 'cause I'm aware of what on the line. Figure out the story now wasn't good. Now, but in the corner of my mind, how the soldier sound celebrating glory. Song I wasn't too deep, but in the twist of separation, you extended with a tree. So take the fight, a little room inside for me. Whatever I said, whatever I did, I didn't mean it. So the sound is back for good.
yes. That's what singing melody, you know? Singing melody. We're going to bust now with a Sound Foundation artist we call President Brown, you know?
Yeah, man.
So, one called Natty Crooks, big select in Costa Rica. Seem like you never feel so 6 feet trees all around. Feel like never feel defensive. Let it be known. They got it available and dread, so just sunrise the thing the order. Let it be known. They got it available and dread, not the Crooks, don't be a selector. Let it be known. Soldier sound, the best sound across the border. Let it be known. And not the Crooks in mother. Don't be a selector. Who that does it? Who that when soldier sound asks who that? Identify yourself and tell me if I know who that. But I'm putting that sound, you know say I true that. Jump now you're thinking and slow that. Hey, who tell them to send them come? Who tell them to send them come? Come up that's where that sound you make when now you bring the drum. Who tell them to send them come? Listen now, you get back, bring down the drum. Let it be known. It's terrible and dread, soldier sunrise, the dingy order. Let it be known. Not the Crooks. Fire don't be it selector. Let it be known. It's terrible and dread, soldier sunrise, the dingy order. Let it be known. And so we drop it in a Costa Rica.
Yes. So we're going to play right now Alborosi on the same beat, you know, because we don't do no delay, brother. Up there.
And the original, you see? We're going to play it with the fire. Oh, yeah. Soldier sound, yeah. Stand up today and not tomorrow. Cause it's never too late, yeah. Them can keep you down, no. Every day you're going till a sound, you know. Stand up today and not tomorrow. Cause it's never too late, yeah. Them can keep you down. Soldier sound, yo. You've been sitting there too long, meditating if it's right or wrong, ignoring the sound that plays inside of you. The truth is written in the book. From the sound to the dub, from the dub you'll get the fruits. Yeah, bless up the world mankind and leave all sound behind. Cause soldiers so divine, Mount Zion shine. Soldier sound, I tell you, yeah. Stand up today and not tomorrow. Cause it's never too late, yeah. Them can't keep you down, soldier sound. Every day you kill a sound, you know. Stand up today and not tomorrow. Cause it's never too late, yeah. Them can't keep you down. Every day soldier sound, kill a sound, oh yo. A soldier sound, Natty Crooks, I tell them straight, sir. We kill a sound every night, every day.
Yes, that the great Alborosi, you know.
The great one.
Keep nice to the players with some early tumbling that do play it right now, right there. So
okay, my brother, let's get two more, okay, my bro? Big love.
All right.
I soldier of the under fire. Soldier son of the under fire. Soldier of the under fire. Soldier sound is a A1 sound. A1 sound.
Soldier sound is about to throw them down. Wow. Soldier sound is a A1 sound. A1 sound.
Soldier sound is about to throw them down. Listen, all around of your impression. Why you try to jump us, soldier soul? They are human. Who one day will not take it anymore. Take it from your brother,
I'm a tumbling down.
Natty Crooks stepping up
stronger.
Wise up, soldier sound, taking on your life. Soldier sound is a A1 sound.
A1 sound. soldier sound. It's about to throw them down. Wow.
A1 sound, A1 sound. Soldier sound.
Yes. That's Everton Blender. Right now we have a play foundation artist called Meditation. You see it straight.
And all the Costa Rica crew, a meditation, all the massive. Soldier sound rule now. I say rule on. Soldier sound rule now. So when you run down the soldier sound, he will surely kill you. When if you run down the soldier sound, he will surely kill you.
Soldier sound is like a thunder. He will burn the baby jump on. Soldier sound is like a thunder. And he will burn the baby jump on. Never you try to test the soldier sound. I say there will be no peace in the dance. And I say never you try to test the soldier sound. I tell you now, people brothers to kill you one by one. No joke about it. Yeah, back up your jump and run away before it's too late. Right now, back up your strength and run away before it's too late now. It's the worst one just say, I know joke about it. Easy come, easy go now. That's what you should know. I tell you, if you run down your soldier sound, he will surely kill you. Somewhere you try to take the soldier sound, he will surely kill you. Yes, that was meditation just passing through for nice of the place.
Give thanks, my brother. Natty Crooks, soldier sound. You got one more? Man. You got one more for us?
No, the last more. This one me make it a few days ago. Little John. Great.
Natty Crooks. I don't know the Kuchana one that endorsed that. And other people from Costa Rica. You don't know the Kuchana one that they are the baddest dancer singer. Yeah, man, the soldier sound. I'm not telling man for real, man. No bargain, no deal. Who can you do? Feel soldier sound. You could kill some sound right now.
Kill some sound.
Now some boy at one of them want to play them go down. This is soldier sound. Soldier sound. And the number one sound. It may look how we kill some sound. One place soldier sound in our yard. Soldier sound, no fear, no sound, man. 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 Him not fear them sound away. As we step in at the dance, the sights of my jump and pan. Who want it? Don't stand a chance. Soldier sound, now they wanna be the dancer. Soldier sound, now they wanna be the dance. We not play them no longer. Them sound boy, they do out of order. Oh, the because over your border, over soldier sound border. Oh, them fake cars over your border. Look how we can sound so hard. What the soldier sound in a yard. But right now, we don't fear no sound boy. No, we don't fear no sound. No, we don't fear them, no. Soldier sound, don't fear them, no. No, we don't fear them, no. Soldier sound, don't fear them.
Yes, me brethren. Yes,
Natty Crooks.
That's what Little John.
Costa Rica to Jamaica.
Straight
to Jamaica. Thanks, man. You gonna be performing in any online clash shows coming up?
I don't know. I need to see, brother, but maybe.
Okay, man. Okay, how do people get a hold of you? Your Facebook. What's the easiest way?
Yeah, through Facebook, Instagram. That is the easy way. You'll find me like Natty Crooks.
Okay, my brother.
Yes.
Well, we need. I was just talking to the bass player, my brethren from Gondwana, a brethren named Ilox. You ever run into him?
Yeah, I see them. I think so. One time here where they do a big show with a few more artists from Jamaica, you know.
Well,
he was here when I see them perform.
He says he's living in Costa Rica now.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
We were just vibing last night. He's got a new single coming out with Michael Rose.
Oh, wicked.
Tune called "We Are the Lions." So everybody be looking out for Gondwana and Michael Rose in his new home, Costa Rica. So hopefully, brother, we'll see each other there in Costa Rica soon, man, and we'll mash up the dance hall together, huh?
Yeah, for real. That would be really nice, brother.
'Cause Soldier Sound is healing up the nation. And Sound Boy is done, man.
You just give them a little tears, brother. Easy, man. Easy at all.
Hey, we'll link soon, man. We'll have you back, my brother, soon, okay? Blessings. Stay strong.
All right. Yes, same to you and your family, brother. Keep strong more in this time, and you'll one world defeat,
For real, bro. Pure blessings, pure prayers. And talk to you very soon, bro.
All right, and thank you for the strength where you give me right there, so brother. Give thanks, all right?
Yeah, no. One people.
For real, brother.
One people. That's how we do it. All right, everybody. We are going to take a short little break, a little intermission, and then we come back with a roundtable discussion with two of my closest brethren. Okay, but first we're listening to what? Peaceful? Back to Peaceful Revolution. Brand new Big Mountain remix of Peaceful Revolution. Hope you love it.
Now we know what we're fighting is in desperate need of reassessment. It seems the people just don't feel at home with the decisions of the government, no. And though the tension rules the land, it's something we've got to understand. To change the problems that we have right now, we've got to use our minds and not combat. Peaceful revolution. 'Cause now we know what we're fighting for. Peaceful revolution. We're gonna finally unite for sure. Peaceful revolution. Our future looks bright as gold. Peaceful revolution. This is the time for peace, can't afford no war. If we could find the roots of our conscience, I know the path that we'll take will be right. Then we can start on a brand new tomorrow. Push all the negative vibrations aside. We must forgive what's done's been done. Let's clear the air and the truth will come. The time for unification is now. And guess what? The Most High's gonna show us how, yeah. No more putting off for tomorrow what we can accomplish today. Enough with all of this procrastination. We've got a beautiful world to say. It's a revolution. Yeah. 'Cause now we know what we're fighting for. It's a revolution. This time we're gonna unite for sure. It's a revolution. judge has wisdom can show us our way. Prime ministers and presidents, they only try to confuse the day. Gotta be awake before the day breaks. I think I can see a ray of sunshine. A selfishness and pessimism, don't you know? They will be out of style in a peaceful revolution. And for revolution. Now we know what we're fighting for. Peaceful revolution. Jah gonna lend a hand to help us to do. Peaceful revolution. Our future looks bright as gold. Peaceful revolution. This is a time for peace, no time for war. Peaceful revolution. Oh yeah. 'Cause now we know what we're fighting for. Peaceful revolution. Peaceful revolution. Peaceful revolution. Our future looks bright as gold. Yeah. Peaceful revolution.
All right.
This guy.
We are
This
back.
guy.
We are back. That is the new Big Mountain single. You can, I think it's up on Spotify. I'm not sure, but it starts off with saxophone. I still don't know the exact name of the version, the remix. But anyway, we have reached the discussion portion of our program. Again, we're trying to create discussion about the things that we see happening today in our world, and just, you know, I know that all of us together can answer a couple of questions, but we have to get outside of our comfort zone. I know I'm way outside of my comfort zone right now, but it's getting better every week. I want to thank two of my greatest brethren for joining me on this discussion. I'm going to introduce Dr. John Marquez, Associate Professor of African American Studies and Latinx Studies at Northwestern University. He's the author of the award-winning Black and Brown Solidarity, Politics in the New Gulf South.
Really?
And the book, the upcoming title, Genocidal Democracy, Neoliberalism, Mass Incarceration, and the Politics of Gun Violence. I've asked my brother John to moderate this discussion, so bro, I am going to hand it over to you.
All right, thanks, Kino. Can we get an introduction for Paul?
Everybody knows me already, boss.
Paul Groove Galore Kastick.
But when I do write my book, everybody's gonna have to run for cover.
Yeah.
You talking about like Jay-Z and Beyonce or what? Well, Paul.
Everybody in my world.
All right. Drummer and producer for Shaggy, Maxi Priest, Diana King, Big Mountain. The list goes on and on. Who's this? Throw off a couple of names of people you're working with right now, Paul, or in the last couple of years.
I've really been I'm just focusing on what we're doing with Big Mountain and dangling. Seriously. Yeah. I've not really been putting out there like that. We drop some tracks to get multiple artists, but I'm always disenchanted with that sort of vibe. It's really never been my thing. It's always more forced because people doing it and you have a nice track, you just have everybody want to be on it. But no, I've really been, other than Diana and Maxi and Big Mountain and Andrew Donalds, really it's just dangling and Big Mountain that I have an interest in. And of course, Browser Cologne, Monkey Cologne, M Cologne. You don't know. Yeah.
Mama love her pudding. Kino, sing.
I've got the incense.
The candles are lit. I'm feeling. All right. Okay, well, let's get this thing going.
Yeah. Hey, thanks again, Kino, for the invitation and for putting this together, for inviting us on and trusting us to provide some entertainment for your audience, but hopefully some interesting kind of interpoints that we can connect politics, social issues with music and art. It's an interesting time that we're in. You know, we have to use and rely upon technology so much to try to make this happen. So, you know, thanks to the audience, for those of you that are still tuning in, and thanks for your patience as we, you know, try to work through this. So one of the things Kino and I have been talking about, and has been, I think, working theme of this episode of the Big Mountain Dub Club, surrounds the classic Big Mountain song "Love Is the Only Way," co-written by Kino and Bobby Budall, who was interviewed earlier. Great interview, and a great context for some of the things we're going to talk about. So to close things out today, Kino, Paul, and I are going to talk about the theme of love. Jakob, Kino's son, also kind of was referencing the way that youth today are mobilizing in a strong trust and a strong show of solidarity with one another to try to change the world for the better. And if that's not a love-felt or a heartfelt kind of commitment to a different world, then I don't know what is. So I wanted to begin with a couple of provocations. One, the Big Mountain song, "Love Is the Only Way." I'd like to ask the question of, love is the only way to what? Love is the only way for what, right? And I ask that question because I think what often happens in reggae music in terms of its references to love or as being a love music is that there's two different ways you can interpret the message or the meaning of artists like Big Mountain or Bob Marley or others, right? On the one hand, you have a reference to love and a consumption of love from an audience that's a forgetful love. By forgetful love, I mean, people say, well, let's forget about politics. Let's forget about the troubles of the world and surround me with this kind of refuge of euphoria of something different, right? So let's forget about what surrounds us and let's kind of encapsulate ourselves in this kind of euphoric feeling. Maybe we can smoke some weed, maybe we can have some sex, maybe we can take a walk on the beach to kind of remove ourselves from the world. That's a forgetful love. And I'm not hating on that. That's a type of love that one sees in reggae music. The other type of love is a commitful love. And you saw this reflected in some of the conversation between Jakob and Kino, father and son, a commitful love in terms of, Pops, where do I take your work or where do I take your struggle? What's the next generation going to be doing in terms of our commitment, a commitful love to a better future, right? So you can even find a difference between forgetful love and commitful love within a classic song like Bob Marley's One Love, right? There's different lyrics in that song, for example. On the one hand, a forgetful love can say, let's get together and feel all right? Let's get together and forget everything that's going on and feel all right. But another lyric in that song says, let's get together and fight this holy Armageddon, right? And that's a commitful love. That's not forgetful. It's saying, let's get together and fight, right? And so I think that's important because within art, art provokes us to thinking and feeling different things in different ways. That's partially the power of art. But reggae can kind of sometimes be seen as political music and sometimes ambiguous kind of love, celebration, holiday music at the same time.
Yeah, it is. Definitely, I agree with you. And it's so funny that you use One Love because it's true. I mean, at the end of the days, Bob to me wasn't just on one track. Bob has the songs about the struggle, about like he went to Africa and he had that specific song. Even Peter Tosh also, but at the end of the day, they will have some song. They weren't just on one train of thought. And I guess we can't necessarily all be on one train of thought because at the end of the day, all of us came here by that. What's the love that we make love? Have sex, we all got here by that. So that will always be in topics of song. And that's one of the things, the balance with Big Mountain that I loved was I never knew the songs of struggle until I landed in San Diego and met Kino. And it was so fast how the relationship started. I was just thrown in and we were working on a love song. And, I was just like, okay, the Lionel Richie song is what brought us together. But then I remember the first week, me and Kino started being in the hotels. And now I started to hear the repertoire, the stuff that I was learning to play. And I was like, yo, so this shit just remind me of some Steel Pulse and Aswad. The struggle, that type of music. And that got me all just like, wow, I know I'm in the right place now. Seriously, it just wasn't about, oh, baby, I love your way, because there's that part of me when I was in the hotels. Most of the songs that I used to sing and play the drums were message conscious social revolution music from Aswad and Steel Pulse. So when I met up with Keno now, it was through the Baby I Love Your Way, Lionel Richie, the only one. But when I started hearing the other stuff now, I was like, all right, I know I made the right choice.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, I can remember. Go ahead, Keno.
Well, it's just so funny that you mentioned that because, you know, just last fall, Jakob went on that trip with me, and we performed. I performed some solo presentations.
Papua New Guinea,
and
right.
And then we ended up going to the Philippines after that. And I had to, you know, Jakob had to learn the tunes. And
right.
And Jakob tells me, wow, Dad, you know, I never realized that all of those songs that you're talking about, I mean, they always kind of had this Rasta glow over them, but I mean, they're real revolutionary, you know. And I was all, it was just so interesting to me that my son who had, you know, was forced to listen to this music just because he was my son and he was around it all the time and would come to shows, and, you know, he heard the choruses and sang along, but it wasn't until he really sat down and listened to the songs, he goes, wow, Dad, that stuff's really revolutionary. Your lyrics, you know, I've never had a chance
and yet he was with you.
Yeah,
you know, they say sometimes the very thing you're looking for is right there already with you, you know. And it's like you don't even see it. You're looking across over there thinking like the grass is greener, when the very thing you're looking for sometimes is right already in your midst.
But what's interesting, you know, is that he was looking at reggae, and he's always, you know, he's a rebel. So he wasn't going to be a reggae musician. He's a musician, but he made a point that, no, Dad, I'm not going to follow in your footsteps. I'm going to do my own thing. But as a result of his dad being a reggae musician, he always kind of looked at reggae as having a little bit of that gimmicky, which it has, right? I mean, it was kind of,
And you have the different styles of reggae, of course.
And then, you know, it's a little bit of a banner that we all walk around with, the red, gold, and green, the ganja, the this and the that. It's like this set of principles that is forced upon you if you are part of the reggae community, that he didn't want that. It was like, nah, he was more into the indie rock. He was really into the whole, you know, just as this emerging artistic, LGBT, multicultural type of, you know, group, and he saw some boundaries in reggae music that he didn't want to be a part of. You know what I mean? And
right.
But when I took him on tour, we got to chuckle about the fact that he had been a little bit disillusioned.
That's interesting. I mean, it's part of it's communication and intergenerational differences, and part of it's, you know, whatever's available to us in terms of education, as Paul mentioned, but part of it's because of the ambiguity of the term love. Like, it's such a hard term to define, and it gets used in so many different ways. I for example, have been part of a campaign in my hometown. I'm from the South, the southern part of the United States, and I'm from, you know, a town that kind of clings to its Confederate roots and its kind of commitment to a Jim Crow order of things, and with the George Floyd uprising that has taken place, and, you know, a lot of the Black Lives Matter movement, you know, people in my hometown are trying to seize upon the opportunity to remove the name of General Robert E. Lee from our alma mater, from our high school. So our high school is named after this Confederate hero. And it's been a volatile kind of fight and debate as it's been unfolding in the past couple of weeks. I received an email from somebody anonymous who's opposed to removing the name of General Lee. And it asked me the question of, why am I so hateful? Why am I so hateful? Why am I part of a campaign to change history or to remove, you know, part of the tradition of our hometown? And my response to that is like, you know, what part of this is about hate? You know, it's to try to remedy something that's a bad marker of the past, and to stick your neck out as a leader and a voice in the wilderness to do so. You got to have a profound kind of investment and feeling of love, of humanity within you, in order to have that boldness, right? So love and hate can, you know, go both ways in terms of politics. It's I mean, I guess it boils down to the question of who do you love? What do you love? Do you love tradition? Do you love tradition that denigrates Black people? Or do you love justice, equality, and freedom? You have to make a choice at some time in your life, right? And so it can go either way.
Yeah, I think when I'm watching the news as a Jamaican on the outside, but always in the States, and I watch the networks and I hear the banter, the different talk from the different experts that they all bring on. CNN bring on these experts. They're there for this, and you can hear the difference when I watch Fox. And, you know, it's like what I'm hearing from both sides is like, it's the lines are definitely drawn. When you watch those two networks, it's kind of like, okay, you know who Fox is bringing on, you know what they're gonna be for when it comes on to this whole statue thing. And then when CNN brings on people, it's kind of like, it's just red and blue, man. It's like, and I'm here and I'm in the States and I'm like watching it and I'm like, okay.
Who do you love?
Part of my argument, part of what I would say is okay, so should we just lead us? Why not just have the German community then just having, well, how they feel if they still have statues of Hitler hanging around or revering Hitler? And some of the, and
that's
we know that, okay, continue.
That's a good segue. So, you know, art is often useful for provoking us to think or ask the question of who do you love or what do you love, right? Even within one song, even within a song like One Love, you have the question of, are we going to fight? You know, are we going to get together through love and fight? Or are we going to love and feel all right? It's one of the two, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, who was the artist? Was it Pete Seeger that had that song, Which Side Are You On, originally, you know, back in the day? Where, you know, asking the question.
Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? They say that now. It's all. It was a union song, and calling out the old union bosses. You know, just straight out and saying, you know what, you gotta draw the line. You're either with the union bosses or you're with us, but there's no gray area.
There's no gray, and that's kind of like a moment that we're in now, right? Which side are you on? Who do you love? What are you willing to commit a love for, right? So before I turn it back over to you guys with a couple of questions, I wanted to read a couple of quotes that come from different traditions or different cultures in terms of their definitions of love, right? And I think this is quite helpful for kind of concluding and kind of wrapping things up and allowing you both to speak as artists about how the concept of love or the act of love or the will for love informs your work. So the Christian definition of love in the Bible, in the New Testament, love your neighbor as yourself in Matthew and Mark. In Leviticus, the foreigner residing amongst you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you once were foreigners. In Matthew in the Bible, you have heard it that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy, but I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Moving on to Islam. Islam makes it quite simple when they define love in the Quran. It's a 3-step process. Absolute love, supreme love for Allah. Number 2, love for his prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him. And number 3, love for others for the sake of Allah, right? Love Allah first, love the prophet, peace be upon him, and then you can talk about your commitment to one another if you actually want to honor your true love for your creator. I think that's quite simple, but quite powerful, right? Within the context of the Americas, you have different articulations of revolutionary love or an anti-racist love. Dr. Martin Luther King saying, quote, what is needed is a realization that power without love is reckless and abusive, and love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands against love. Che Guevara, the Argentinian Cuban revolutionary, says, quote, Every day people straighten up the hair, why not the heart? At the risk of seeming ridiculous, let me say that the true revolutionary is guided by a great feeling of love. It is impossible to think of a genuine revolutionary lacking this quality. Be realistic, demand the impossible. More recently, the Dominican-American writer Junot Diaz is talking about this idea of love as a decolonial ethic or a decolonial feeling as a way to undo all the negative stigmas that are associated with our gender, with our race, with our sexuality, et cetera, et cetera. And he states, quote, "We're never going to get anywhere as long as our economies of attraction continue to resemble more or less the economies of attraction of white supremacy. Decolonial love is the only kind of love that could liberate from that horrible legacy of colonial violence. Finding people who practice decolonial love is as hard inside of a vast movement as it is outside. The actual standard of decolonial love, how little discussed, how little understood, and yet in many ways is the great test of who we are and our praxis and of our communal praxis." Bell Hooks, the famous Black feminist writer, writes, quote, "We cannot know love if we remain unable to surrender our attachment to power, if any feeling of vulnerability strikes terror in our hearts," end quote. Malcolm X, our great leader, says, quote, "We need more light about each other. Light creates understanding. Understanding creates love. Love creates patience, and patience creates unity. You can't separate peace from freedom because no one can be at peace unless he has freedom. If you're not ready to die for it, put the word freedom out of your vocabulary." And I would say, if you're not willing to die for it, and this is my own take, put the word love out of your vocabulary as well. If you can't love something so much that you're willing to die for it in a communal act to make this world a better place for people that are not yet born, then don't use the word love. And that's my own perspective. And I'll turn it over to you guys. You can riff off of any of those quotes, give us your own perspective.
No, all I can say is, John, I wish I could have recorded all that you just said for future use. Seriously.
Go to Big Mountain Dub Club YouTube.
Yo,
it'll be archived there, and that's part of what we're doing here. We're trying to archive some good discussion for, just like you say, for those who come after us, or for those who need to eat this food, man. And it's so interesting that, even people, like you said before, can love the idea of hating somebody else in the context of General Lee. And I'm trying to remember exactly. There was a comment that you just said right now, or a quote that you just said now, that and I remember what it is now. The whole decolonial aspect of it, and just how painful that's been to completely deny thousands of cultures their contribution to this world culture that we're dealing with now. And now we're trying to break down. We're in the wilderness because we're all acting white. We're all acting and dressing and talking like we're from England. And how painful that is, and disrespectful it is, and unloving it is to so many people that have had to suffer through that, and aren't going to be mentioned. They're not going to be mentioned. We're not going to get their contribution because they weren't European, because they had a culture and had values that were outside of the dominant culture. It's a shame.
I would think a couple of things. I say, yes, we can get their opinion if we love it enough. If we love and crave it enough, we can feel it. We can feel our cultures. We can feel everything that survived all of the genocides and all of the violence towards our ancestors. We are what our ancestors did. They survived. And we have to ask ourselves the question of how does one survive spiritually and psychologically, right? So when Kino, you talk about all of the pain that people went through, or all the pain that we experience, I don't even actually think we're in the moment of pain, because pain makes you want to defend yourself from harm. I think we're numb. I think we're in a position, I think we're in a state of a couple of centuries of numbness. And generally speaking, right, we've had our revolutionaries try to push us in a different direction. Right. But I think we're defensively numb to things that we don't think that we can change. Our hearts and our feelings, our affect tells us and suggests us that we want something else. We want something bigger, but we don't know quite how to do it because we're trapped within the language, we're trapped within the vernacular, we're trapped within, you know, all these different histories that are not of our own making.
Yeah, the rules of the game that we didn't make, but we're forced to live under. Okay, Paul, let's get your perspective.
I'm just like, when what John just said, I'm kind of like thinking, but okay, maybe we're not there fully yet, but I can, as a Jamaican, I always say, as a Jamaican, looking in when I'm there and absorbing all of this, what's going on, I can say definitely it seems like more than any other time, there's a jump start going on that seems to be triggered across America right now, at least. Whether it took too long to happen or it took the George Floyd thing, certainly it seems like it has light a gash it's just brought up a whole heap of things, and I'm here watching and I'm like, I just hope how it continues, so that they have to be careful, I guess. But I want to comment on this thing because, you know, there's always been this statement. I want to talk about that thing. I want to ask you guys, as being American citizens, this whole thing about the statues, it's really always in my head, because what I hear from certain people is that, okay, we know America had a bad history and the stuff that they did, but you can't erase that. You know, people need to still know the statues are there for you to know that, okay, that was then, this is now. And, you know, as I say, a people without a knowledge of his history is like a tree without roots. So some of the arguments I'm hearing from some of the naysayers who don't like what's happening with the statue tearing down is that, listen, we know that we had a terrible history, but this is a teaching moment for you to see this, and you teach your kids, okay, that guy represented that at that time, and we were there, and this is now. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying I agree. I'm just saying that's what I've been getting. I'm getting two different arguments. How you guys feel about that? So you're saying that, so John, you're saying, I see you shaking your head. So you're saying you would want all the statues them tear down?
Absolutely.
All of them?
Absolutely.
They belong, but maybe if they're in a museum and part of an exhibit that says...
the museum's got to go too.
And museums got to go based upon what a current museum is designed to be, or museums should just be done, period.
Well, what is the concept of a museum? It's a warehouse. It's a warehouse for cultures that have been left in ruin, right? So we want to learn from other cultures of the past by studying their ruins. But what cultures are always left in ruin? When we refer to ruins, who do we think about? We think of native peoples. We think of the ruin of the Middle Passage. We think of, I work in education, so I'm not against education in that regard.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So I do think that the education that you get from a song like "You Can't Blame the Youth" is different than the education you might get from a monument, right? Yeah. So it's
but they do belong in the history books. Obviously, we have to tell
monuments as we understand them. I mean, I think if you're saying replace a monument to the General Robert E. Lee with a monument to Bob Marley, I'm all for it, right? Because that's a shift. That's what we call an epistemological rupture. It flips the script upside down, right? And maybe one generation will come about and want to replace Bob Marley because maybe they'll say he stood for patriarchy and his views on gender and sexuality do not kind of meet the standards of a youthful generation. You know, maybe
the Me Too
maybe people can say that. But for now, for the time being, to be a strategic essentialist, I would say, fuck yeah, take down the General Lee. You know,
put up
Bob Marley.
But the thing is also what I'm seeing is it doesn't stop there though, because a lot of people are going back to to the former presidents. Like they're nitpicking and going deep now and say, and everybody said,
it's white
okay.
supremacists, Paul. It's white supremacists. You know, our current president said it himself in the debate about monuments to the General Robert E. Lee. He said it's a slip in his defense of keeping the statues erect. No pun intended. He commented that, you know, it's a slippery slope, and where do we, where will it end? He basically said, well, Thomas Jefferson owned slaves, George Washington owned slaves. So
I was getting to that.
So do we do away with those founding fathers in the same way? But the problem with that argument is this. General Robert E. Lee went to war against the United States. He's not a founding father of the United States, but in the mindset, he immediately gets understood as a founding father of the United States because he's a white male. And most statues and most iconography are dedicated to white males. Even the idea of founding father is heteronormative and heteropatriarchal in that extent, right? So even within that comment of saying, well, where does it end? You're confusing somebody who was an enemy of the United States, a proven traitor, who went to war against the United States, with people who were elected presidents of the United States. I'm not to say that I'm a fan of any of them. I've removed statues to all of them mugs, right? That's my politics.
But some of them are more justified than others.
But to think that there's an equivalence is the problem. It's a window to thinking. It's a lens for us to understand just what the problem is.
John, here is the reason why I'm pissed that you did not go on Fox. Is this type of shit that pisses me off. That it's good that I'm hearing it and it's food for me. But Jesus Christ, man, you should have gone on Fox, dude, because this is the articulation that we're not getting. I'm glad you're my friend.
We are getting it, but we are getting
it. I'm glad you're my brethren because
hey, man, we're getting it on the Big Mountain Dub Club, man. Come on.
That's right. We create our own venues.
We got 29 viewers right now. 29 people, man. I mean, I know we don't compete with Fox right now, but we're going to get there,
The only thing I can't stand coming out of your mouth is when you always dissing me for 30p.
Hey, I got to give it up. Original Mobe.
Yo, we had our elections yesterday, dude.
Yeah?
The government.
Did the ex-tribe... tribe of
the government that's in power has remained in power pretty much by what I call a tsunami.
Wow.
And the people have spoken. So obviously the populace is definitely happy about the past 4 years, and we will see.
And what was that the conservative? And I'm sorry for being ignorant.
No, we don't. Our thing is not that. It's both parties really do the same thing. It's not some left and right difference of ideology here. There's not. It's just
yes, it is.
Who can tweak the economy better?
Well,
that's the way it's judged, basically.
Historically, from I've been growing up, people have always associated the party that retained power as the party that have done more with money and know how to do things business-wise, whereas they've associated the Manly Party, which is my family's party from I was growing up, with more emotional stuff and going out to the people and whatever.
Connected to socialism.
So let's bring it back to our work as artists, as writers, as teachers, all the work that we do. Once again, with the concept of love. Like, I remember Kino telling me one time, so we worked on this project, this Kinazo project, right? There's a bunch of different moments and sessions and reasoning sessions that we had that went into the making of those songs for that Kinazo album, La Ofrenda, right? And I absolutely love that album because I feel like I'm a part of it. I feel like I was a part of the creative process, and I have a loveful emotional investment in that album. Mm-hmm. And it was a couple of years after the album was released, and I asked Kino, and I was like, "Yo, we got to do some, more projects like the Kinazo project. How does it do? How's it being received?" And he said, "I think we sold, no more than a couple of hundred copies of the album." Right? So then you have to. It begs the question. It invites the question: why spend that much time and energy and of your own resources producing that kind of art if you know there's going to be no economic reciprocity? It's because it comes from love.
Yeah. No. Yeah, for me, that record was so important for me spiritually. I mean, I was really loving myself after, for so many albums on Warner Records and being told what to do, and then just kind of having everything being driven by the market and the whole idea. Oh, we got to make a hit. We got to. We got to keep selling records, and getting that pressure from record companies. That was the first time that I didn't have all of that, and the first time I could rely on my trusted sources, right? The people that I really did want involved in the content of the music. So, I mean, the people that find that record, man, they get it, and I've had some people come up and give me enough love that makes up for anything. And I never promoted the record. I never had the desire to promote the record. It was kind of like one of these things where I didn't understand what it meant to me until it was done.
Right.
And when it was done, it was like, I felt like all these vampires just fly away, and all these demons that this really, uncomfortable feeling inside of me, like, reggae music. I was a part of the corruption of reggae music with Big Mountain, and I really did feel that, and I understand now that that's just part of the business. But this was kind of my way to really be able to redeem and not have those schizophrenic records. I know we put out great songs, and they were conscious, and they were received by the people. The beautiful thing is that, I see that every single day. People, they get the conscious music, but I wanted an album that was pure. I wanted an album that didn't have that schizophrenic vibe. And then once I did it, it was like, you know what? I don't need to do that record again. I did it. I got it out, and whoever it helps, it's going to be somebody that when they do find it, I think they're going to really enjoy it as much as I do.
So it wasn't even for you. It really wasn't for you. It was for somebody else. It was for you in the future. It was for the future you. And that's love.
Hell yeah.
Why take the risk? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and and just that my love for my culture. I mean, when reggae music and the principles of reggae music and the tools that reggae music, just how important it has been. And I see Jamaica. I understand how light years ahead the Jamaican mind is in terms of that question of colonialism. That could only happen by Jamaican professors and the preachers and the mothers and the fathers and the people ingraining it in the heads of their children. I wanted to see that same determination in the Chicano community. And I kind of felt like I was drawing for the only technique that I had seen work in my experience, which was reggae music. Reggae music, it helped Jamaican people and now people from the black diaspora all over reconnect with Africa. And just that, with that one act, to be able to say, I am a proud African, you wipe out so much ignorance that has been forced upon us by white supremacy.
That's it.
Yeah, that's important stuff. So what's the future of Big Mountain Dub Club? What are your plans? What are your ideas?
I really want to get Dangling up on here with us one Friday. I'm telling you.
Let's do it. He's always welcome.
Dangling has a host of info, and he was in the U.S. Army. He just knows, he just knows so much shit about even the Marcus Garvey thing, the connection with Marcus Garvey and going to America, and Marcus Garvey being blackballed by the U.S. government, and he has just tons of issue. He has tons of issue with Obama, because they were trying to get the Obama White House to to reverse that thing and admit what they did to Marcus Garvey. So Dangling, I just love him to be up on here to give us a whole his side of some of the stuff. As a Jamaican who, he's a US citizen, but he served in the army, came back, and then decided he's going back to Jamaica and pursue reggae. Because before he was totally hip-hop, R&B, right? And he only started to venture into reggae after he left the Navy. So he has a lot,
that's
and
that's a great perspective. I mean, any ex-military would
he
be
knows
really
a lot of stuff
interested
about this whole connection with the Farrakhan and the Martin Luther King and the Rosa Parks and a lot of the deep stories that we don't hear on the surface that I've never heard. And he'll send me an article and I go read it. I'm like, oh shit, really? So what we were getting all this time was politics.
No, we'll definitely get Dangling on. I mean,
his story, not my black story, but his story.
Yeah,
that's what we were getting all this time.
Well, you know what? Let me ask you guys. What are you guys thinking of the mix so far? I mean, I know it's a long show. It's so hard to cut. You know, I mean, I kind of feel like people are gonna find what they need from these shows. I don't wanna cut the interviews. It was so hard to edit Bobby's interview because all of the stuff that he said, and I really actually didn't have the time that I would have liked to. I would have gone in there and I would have honed in on a few other quotes and actually seen it afterwards. I was watching, I was going, oh God, what about that quote? You know, but you know, unfortunately Bobby was a sacrificial lamb right now, but you know, we'll get him back. But what do you guys think of the mix between the sound system and the prepared interviews and then our discussion? I'm trying, you know, I'm hoping that we have something that is going to give a little bit to everybody.
I think the idea it's wicked because we're given a little bit of each thing, and I mean we're gonna test it. We're gonna test it and see. But I mean the idea. When I looked at the poster and I was reading, I was like, oh wow, this is encompassing a bunch of different stuff, you know, and it just looked very interesting to me, and I was like, yo, I gotta check this out. If I was on the outside looking at it, I'm like, oh, you're having this guy from over here, and then Bobby Budall, and I saw Jakey's name on it, and I'm just like, oh, this is giving you just more than one thing. So, I mean, yeah, trial and error. We'll see. We'll get the feedback, you know.
What do you think, John?
I mean, I like the hybrid idea as well. I think it needs to be condensed. I think the more, you know, we go through it, we're understanding what themes work and how to segment them in different ways as well. I mean, I actually would like to see, you know, you, Kino, and some of the other, you know, Foundation Big Mountain band members, you know, using this venue as a way for you all to kind of interview and dialogue with other major figures in the reggae music industry.
We're definitely going to get there, yes. That's
yeah, I mean, I'm thinking like some of the examples that we're seeing in hip hop culture with these different kind of podcasts and shows where, you know, some of these kind of rap legends are kind of around our age now and are looking back at their career and are using their status within the industry to hold these roundtables, to have these discussions about where the culture is and, you know, where we've come from and where's it going to go, right? I like the effort to provide the kind of intellectual, political component as well, and I'm, you know, honored to be invited to be a part of that. You know, it'd be great to continue in that regard and to helping the conversation. But I think the more that we focus the show not on problems of the world, but on the reggae music industry and root it in that genre in particular, the more streamlined and the more efficient I think the conversation will become.
I feel you.
Okay.
I feel you. Well, I mean, that we're experts. We might as well stick with what we're experts on, right? And
yeah. I do think it'd be interesting to put, you know, to bring on a certain artist that wrote a certain song, for example, right? That was inspiring and one way or another, and to put that artist in dialogue with somebody who's organizing or who's working at an activist level on that same issue. And have that kind of conversation, right? So like invite a Tanya Stevens on.
Thank you.
Who's really important within the reggae music industry because of this kind of unapologetic Black feminist perspective that she sings from, right?
Yo, listen.
And to put her in conversation with some of our young sisters who are organizing in our communities in a very unapologetic, feminist way as well. I think that kind of interaction would be unique, right? To see the kind of different perspectives because we're working in different mediums, right? Something like that, I think, would be interesting.
Yeah, man, definitely. Sounds like something to look into for sure.
I'm down. I'm totally down. Yeah, yes, well.
Before we leave today, I wanted to say, I wanted to big up my comrade and friend, Mateo Zapata, who provided the background photograph behind me. He's been doing some incredible work here in Chicago and documenting the people's struggle and our everyday kind of realities. And he's been a big inspiration for me. So if you see some of the articles I've been writing in venues like Latino Rebels and some of these other kind of online journals or magazines, I use a lot of Mateo's art in the background because I think it's quite provocative and really tells the truth of the time that we're living in. So big up Mateo.
Thank you,
and
Mateo.
Also, and big up you guys as well as artists. To conclude, I think, when I say this whole process of a lot of us, try to numb ourselves from pain, we try to numb ourselves from realities that we find hard to access. It's artists like you all that help to de-numb us, right? Music, like I said in our last episode, music gets in your body and it has a different kind of intimate relationship with our feelings. And sometimes we need the songs and the lyrics of somebody like you, Kino, or we need the drum rhythms of somebody like you, Paul, to evoke a certain kind of courage and feelings within us that denumbs us from the reality of the day-to-day kind of terror that we often face. So, big up to you guys and thanks a lot for all that you do. And I hope that you keep doing it.
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, what haven't I said about you, John and Kino? Come on, I'm just make we just do this and just do it. We've started and we're getting the blueprint together and we just push forward and we make the adjustments as we go along. Yeah, man, because this is flow. I mean, this quality now today was like no issue. It's been quiet. I made sure I lock myself, tell everybody that I'm going to be doing this.
Thank you, Paul.
So I don't have no disturbance. Yeah, man.
What's that tune? Original Man?
Yes,
I am the original man.
You got Paul sent you that rhythm, yeah? I am the original man. I am the original man. Me come humble. I am one with her.
My mama is the final word.
My mama is the final word.
Get on your logic, John. Get on your logic.
All right.
Yeah,
okay,
thanks.
Let's finish that.
Thanks for the interaction and the inspiration.
Well, thank you for facilitating.
Finish off with Peaceful Revolution again.
Okay, we will.
For the people.
We will. I'm gonna say a couple of words to wrap up. Thank you guys for just being my brethren, man, and for taking part. I mean, I depend so much on you guys as my brethren. It's been a long time like that. I give thanks. I just give thanks. I got beautiful, enlightening men like you in my life that I can always turn to, man. So with that being said, thank you, John.
Big up. John, we'll talk as usual.
Paul. Oh my goodness, my people, what a show. I always sing this song, but I didn't prepare anything else. And I don't feel like doing something off the cuff,
Oh, you don't got your djembe drum?
No, and Ruption has my cajon. I have a cajon, but Ruption from Third World has it for the past 4 or 5 years.
Hey, you guys got to put yourself on mute. Love you guys. All right, we discussed today the concept of love. But in a way that a lot of times we're forced to sort of ignore. You know, the idea that these protesters, the reason they're out in the street is because they love their world. They're making the ultimate sacrifice, which is being active. Not thinking that that other people can make the decisions or put words in your mouth. We need to hear your words, my people. We need to hear the words of the people. So don't hide, man. Say what you gotta say. Pick yourself up, man, and get in the conversation. Be ready to feel uncomfortable. There's nothing wrong with feeling uncomfortable, you know. We get over that. We get over that the more we do it. I'm feeling better already. This is my 3rd episode. And I'm feeling pretty good. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Ain't no use dodging no subject or avoiding no conversations. We all know life never makes no sense in this your wayward station. So dry your tears and no more crying, for the end is not near. Jah will always well prepare us. In this chaos, our goal is clear. The battle in your soul is the one that matters most, and the strength within your heart is not of an earthly sort. And if you want to combat the pain, you must avoid the silly earthly games. Remember, avoid the silly earthly games. Don't waste your time with that stuff. Stay strong, young revolutionaries. Don't you fret. Stay strong, young revolutionaries. Don't you fret. Stay strong, young revolutionaries. Don't you fret. No, don't you fret, no. Stay strong, young revolutionaries. Don't you fret, young revolutionaries. We just got a Patreon going, so if you guys want to support, hit the link or go to the website or somewhere along the way. We will show you how we can contribute. Got some good brothers here helping me, Raul and Rigo, and we hope you guys enjoyed the show. See you next week. Big love. Episode 3 of the Big Mountain Dub Club. That is a wrap. Is in desperate need of reassessment. It seems the people just don't feel at home with the decisions of the government, no. And those attention rules the land. There's something we've got to understand. To change the problems that we have right now, we've got to use our minds and not come back. Peaceful revolution. 'Cause now we know what we're fighting for. Peaceful revolution.
future looks bright as gold.
Peaceful revolution.
This is the time for peace, can't afford no war. If we could find the roots of our conscience, I know the path that we'll take will be right. Then we can start on a brand new tomorrow. Push all the negative vibrations aside. We must forgive what's done's been done. Let's clear the air and the truth will come. The time for unification is now. And guess what? The Most High's gonna show us how, yeah. No more putting off for tomorrow what we can accomplish today. Enough with all of this procrastination. We've got a beautiful world to say.
It's a revolution.
Cause now we know what we're fighting for.
It's a revolution.
This time we're gonna unite for sure.
It's a revolution.
Our future looks bright as gold.
It's a revolution.
We can't accept the story we've been told. Judge's wisdom can show us our way. Prime ministers and presidents, they only try to confuse the day. Gotta be awake before the day breaks. I think I can see a ray of sunshine. A selfishness and pessimism, don't you know? They will be out of style.
It's a revolution.
Now we know what we're fighting for. Jah gon' lend a hand to help us to do.
It's a revolution.
Our future looks bright as gold.
It's a revolution.
This is the time for peace, no time for war.
It's a revolution.